Let's go. Hello, everybody. Oh, let me get this crazy circle out of the way. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about this week's assignment because it is different than what you've done so far. Up to this point, you're not supposed to be using any outside sources. It's just supposed to be you and the book, pure and simple. And we are starting to incorporate outside research into our assignments moving forward. Not all of them, but a good number of them. And for this assignment and the historical movie review essay, you are required to use the library databases. That's a departmental requirement that students in lit courses use our library databases. You don't have to use them for the Free for All project, but it is strongly recommended, and hopefully you'll want to once you see how good they are. So, like the assignment says, we are introduced early in the book to the standoff at Ruby Ridge, a 1992 gunfight between FBI agents and U.S. Marshals and a heavily armed family on an isolated homestead. So, because Tara Westover's book is a memoir, it is not fiction. There's of course always questions about like artists taking or writers taking license with their own material, so to speak. But for the most part, we're going to treat it as nonfiction. And Ruby Ridge did actually happen. A lot of students tell me this is the first they've ever heard of this incident, but once you look into it, I think you'll be pretty shocked at what happened. And it actually had a lot of very serious long-term consequences. It definitely created a domino effect that has impacted, not only does it impact the Westover family, but there's definitely arguments to be made that that plus Waco led to the Oklahoma City bombing, and kind of has gotten us to where we are today with right wing nationalist, white supremacist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, like domestic terrorism. So the whole incident was well, you'll see. Go take a look, but it definitely um, is in the background of every decision that Tara's parents make about how to live and how to raise their children. This again, kind of obsession with survivalism. So understanding the details of the incident is really important. So you're going to do outside research into the Ruby Ridge incident using the library databases. I've linked to a Google Slides that kind of gives you the basics. It's the same one I use for my 102 class. That's why it says English 102. But I'm also going to show you here for just a minute. Give you a quick walkthrough. So make sure to tell us in your video where the historical research came from. So if there's an author named, not all sources will have an author name. If it's from like an encyclopedia, and I'm going to show you a good place to find reference sources, that's okay. You don't have, you can tell us it doesn't have an author name, or you can just give us the stuff you do know, which is the title of the article, and then tell us which database it came from. Okay. So I'll tell you how to figure that part out in a second. Specific examples, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So let's take a look. Now, you may have done this a million times before, and this is all old news for you, but never hurts to get a quick refresher. So I recommend, well, I think this is really the only way to get in now. Go to the Greenville Tech website, click on Academics and Learning, Library Search. Now, I have been at war with my 102 students, especially my online ones. They want to do their searches in here. And it is possible to do, but it's really not the best idea. Because what happens, well, first of all, you'll get like an insane amount of results, like way more than you could ever really use. But also the citation is really tricky just for future. Um, for this, you don't need to include a works cited. You can't really do that, but it can make it tricky to figure out which database you're referencing. So yeah, this came up with quite a lot of results, mostly newspapers. Um, it's not my favorite. I'll just say that. In a pinch, it can work okay, but what I would recommend instead is just going right to the actual databases. So if you click on research databases, so you got a few different ways to do your source shopping here. You can use the subject guides, which is what I'm going to recommend that you do because it just makes the most sense to me. If you think about it like it's a lot like shopping. It's like if all you need is a hammer, do you really want to go to Walmart? Or if you got a little hardware store, you can just go right and get what you need. Like that's what these are. These are like little hardware stores versus, Costco or Walmart or whatever, where there's a little bit of everything all the time. Sometimes you got to go that route. Walmart's popular for a reason. It always has what you need. But, when you've got a very specific need versus a lot of different needs, this is, I think, the better way to go. But we've also got the A to Z list, which gives you every single database that we subscribe to. Academic Search Premier is more general. So it's academic one file. So most databases are either going to be Gale or EBSCOhost, not all of them, but most. And the only reason it's important to know that is just that, like, if you just tell us Gale or EBSCOhost was your database, that's not good enough because, like, which one? There's a bunch. So this one's Gale, this one's EBSCO. Uh, let's see. If you keep going, like EBSCO, 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 any of the in context databases, like there's Gale, 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 Gale. There, most of them are either going to be Gale or EBSCO. It's like saying that I found something through Google versus Bing. Like, okay, that's just not super. I mean, it's not helpful. It's just not helpful to know. I do like which one's better. I like Gale better. And lately, EBSCO has been having a lot of problems. So just a heads up, if you get a 404 error message, it's probably because you're trying to use an EBSCO database. It seems to work better with Edge than with Chrome, in my experience. There's also some workaround steps that I can send you if need be. Of course, if you email me on Sunday night, I won't be able to help you. But if you do run into problems, just let me know, and I've got some steps from the library. They're not super easy, but just so you know, Gale tends to work better. I just like Gale better anyway. Just I don't know, I like the way that their searches look. So you could go through this whole list. If you did, I would say U.S. history and context is going to be your best bet. This is a Gale database. Gale's not some lady, by the way. I don't know what Gale stands for or means. So if you cite Gale as an author someday, like you're being very silly because it's not some lady named Gale. And even if it was, like, how would that be helpful? Anyway, what I like about Ruby Ridge Incident, 1992, boom. What I like about it is that, okay, all you're going to get is historical information. Okay. So it breaks it down into source types. We've got a bunch of reference sources, biographies, news sources, academic journals. Primary sources is going to be, well, you know what those are from 101 and 102, but basically like could be a video of the event or interviews or something like that, boots on the ground kind of stuff. I like reference sources. So yeah, these all look great, right? Easy enough. But if you do the subject guide, do it that way, and you just go to history, it will take you to that same database that I just showed you. Biography and context is there if you're looking up a person. When you get to the historical movie review, like if you look up Frida Kahlo, U.S. history and context, there it is again. So those are really good. Highly recommend for that. African American history is good if, like, let's say for the movie review essay, you do Hidden Figures, since those are about 3 very important African American historical figures. I also cannot recommend enough. I'm like always desperately trying to get my 102 students to use Credo reference, and they're like, I can't find anything. Did you try Credo reference? No. I'm like, well, oh gosh, try that. And then they do, and then it's got everything they need. And oh yeah, so you're gonna have to log in using your usual login stuff. Yeah, sure. Maybe change my password today. Okay, I love Credo because it searches tons and tons and tons of reference sources simultaneously, some of which you'll just get kind of very brief dictionary entries, or you might get super in-depth encyclopedia entries. Oops, helps to spell correctly. Credo, Credo, Credo. Like I always recommend people start with Credo. So check it out. I like this too. Look, there's Oklahoma City bombing that I mentioned. Waco, right? It's all connected, man. There's the threads. Love it. Encyclopedia of Terrorism. Dang. All right. World of Criminal Justice, gun debate, culture wars. These all look awesome. So check it out. Maybe just start with Credo. That's where I start. Anytime I'm helping students find stuff, I'm like, let's go to Credo. And usually that's a great jumping off point, if nothing else. All right. So make sure, again, in your video that you tell us, here's how you find out if you have an author name. So notice if you go to the bottom, and almost all database sources will give you a citation, either with a citation button or it'll be the bottom, depending on whether it's Gale, EBSCOhost, whatever. Ignore APA, ignore Chicago, ignore Harvard, go to MLA. So this tells you that it does not have an author name because if it did, it would be at the beginning of the entry. That's where it always goes. Ignore Cindy Combs, ignore Martin Sland. Those are editors. We don't care because they edited like, see, look, they edited the whole encyclopedia. They did not necessarily write this individual entry. So yeah, ignore editors. So all we need to know is the following two things. It's an article called Ruby Ridge, and you got it at Credo reference. That's all we need. If you want to mention the Encyclopedia of Terrorism because it just sounds cool, not cool, but it sounds compelling, you could definitely do that. But this, and if you had an author name at the front, we'd want to know that too. Those are the things we need to know for this assignment. Okay. Thank you for watching till the very end for that very important information. And I'll know who you are by your assignment and what you did. So yeah, if you have any questions or run into any problems finding anything or the 404 error messages or whatever, let me know ASAP and I will help you through it. Okay. All right. Thanks everybody. And stay tuned for the video about the free-for-all project, which I will make you here in a minute. Have a good week. Bye.